Hello and welcome. This is your GM in the Great Barrier. Welcome back to Star Trek Adventures Aegis, our 22nd century Star Trek Adventures campaign, set in the era of the Enterprise prequel series. We are very particularly running alongside its fourth season. And, well, at this point, if you're following us, you know we've diverged a fair bit. So, as we get started here, we enter what is episode 13, Star Trek Adventures Aegis and the Starry Compass, Part 1. Before we get into this episode, I just want to get in a couple of quick shout outs. The first would be to our good friends at the Lords and Ladies of Fate, who've been nice enough to shout us out themselves. They do a lot of tabletop streaming. I think they are taking some time off, but they do stream a lot of evenings. They're actually also going through a rebrand now, so you may well soon find them under the Architects of Fate instead. I would totally recommend going to follow them on Twitch, which link will be in the description of the video for those in the archive. They may also have a YouTube channel and they definitely have other social media that you can follow them at. Um, and then, of course, I'm going to give another shout out to one of my friends in the uh, oh dear, the Accidental Content House. That's who it is. A group of friends with whom I am tangential to, but have always enjoyed their streams. This time, let's throw a shout out in the direction of NeonJax, who is a PNG tuber that does a lot of variety streaming. General treat to watch what they do, and they definitely deserve a spotlight. So check them out. Um, let's see. Today I can say we are going to be running one player down. Drone, our uh, Lieutenant Commander Kiran Patel will be absent for this first part, but will probably be back for later sessions. And you may notice the doctor isn't in quite yet. He'll be here shortly, so we have decided to go on ahead and get things set up for you. So we hope you enjoy the episode today. Uh, all of that said, let us get started with the log. Craig, go ahead.
Personal log, Third Moon, Festoan, Lorveln, year 463, or 14th of October 2154. The Aegis has returned to Deep Space Patrol since a longer than anticipated stay at Korgoza in Tellarite space. Repairs to the ship have gone well, something that the Tellarites were happy to help with. Tellarite hospitality was even reasonably friendly in their own brusque fashion. With Korgoza having been the site of a battle in the last Andor-Tellar war, I feared the reception they might have given me may have been chilly, but they seemed to come round once they learned of us coming to the aid of their freighter against the Kzinti. Thankfully, there's been no further sign of them, probably still licking their wounds following the kicking we gave them. I'll confess to enjoy smashing the Tellarite freighter into the Kzinti vessel a lot more than I should have. I suspect I may have been venting a bit of pent-up frustration on them. There's no official news from home, so I took some time on Korgoza to gather some information, and all of it's bad. Unfavourable ship loss ratio, Waitan sieged, Zarat possibly lost too. Makes me feel sick. End log.
Indeed, the news coming out of the war, from what smatterings you can gather from the occasional burst from freighters, or from what reports you might be able to pick up through Starfleet's own reporting, or any news reports that often seem to come in second or third hand, give you cold comfort in the course of your mission here. There's just not much to go off, and none of it particularly good. Also, quick aside there. Hey Ben, good to see you in.
Hello, sorry I'm a bit late.
All good. we're just getting started. Logs getting underway. But yeah, so we are out on deep space patrol. You have you spent a fair few days in Tellarite space after the conclusion of your mission. When it became apparent that you had suffered battle damage, your Tellarite escorts had actually allowed you to enter orbit into one of their systems, which marks not the first time an Earthship has been here. Enterprise had you beat by a month or so, though in no small part to your due to your actions over the course of the campaign. But it was the first planet that Aegis has gotten to visit, which belonged to the Tellarites, and they were willing to oblige you. So all ship breaches have now been repaired, and all systems are functioning more or less normally. The sensors remain in need of further calibration, which is presently being done. Um, Before we get into that particular effort, may I ask, does anybody have any particular scenes that they would like to do, or would anyone want to interact with other characters?
The captain would have liked to do some logistics administration to get a bit more in supplies. For instance, like a lot more spatial torpedoes or other materials for perhaps some interesting plans for the future.
Your requisition orders will have made it out um, because you were your most recent base of supply was had belonged to the Tellarites. There are some components that you just do not have. I would think that the Aegis probably has some sparse capacity to reconstitute at least your spatial torpedo stockpile, but it's very slow. You
Are
haven't.
we?
Go ahead there, please, Brian.
Yeah. So you had kind of vaguely mentioned after everything we had gone to a nearby star base or nearby planet with an orbital facility, right?
That is correct.
Okay. That's what I just want. I just wanted to clarify that we weren't back at Earth. We were at a distant location.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
no.
I just want to do some paperwork finagling to get a little more off the top from the station.
I want to help you with that, and I also want to get us some engineering supplies.
Okay. Well, we can definitely set a scene if you would like to have the opportunity to interact whilst going through requisition paperwork. I should, just to be clear, establish that the Tellarites were able to aid you with repairs that could only have been really performed at a starbase, and you might have been able to acquire a few sparse replacement components while you were there if you so wished. It would be a risk working with that just because Tellarite technology and Earth technology is it's not necessarily incompatible, but no one has seriously tested how these components would interact.
All right, then let's minimize it. I just want deck plating and small power supplies.
I agree. I agree
Power
with
generators.
that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Because I've already made a suggestion to you out of game once about an idea, and I need a lot of deck plates for it.
Oh god. Just a stupid idea just jumped into my head. Thrall just puts his head to the captain and says, Captain, should I invent a photon torpedo? Get the fuck out!
Oh dear, oh dear. Well, so at any rate, we can do something with that later on. Um, I guess one final query on that point actually is that something that would have happened in the past whilst you were at Corgosa, or are you talking about drawing up the requisitions while you are out in deep space to see if you can arrange
Well,
for a
I'm in
resupply?
Hergosa because I'm right there for it's a station. There might be it there's tons of stuff that is probably stuck in red tape, and I'm just going to loosen things up. And if they have any spare deck plating or whatnot, and they need to get rid of it because it's taking up storage, I'm willing to take it off their hands.
Okay. I'll tell you what. We have not yet processed momentum and threat from the change of sessions, so I will give you this opportunity. You are presently at 3 momentum. Between adventures, I think that would go down some, but if you would like, you can expend 2 points of momentum that you had left over to create an advantage of extra patch repair kits and deck plating. Essentially,
Sure.
you can say
That's
that
fine.
between you and Romanov, you were able to acquire some surplus material, which would help reinforce and fortify the hull, or repair it in the event of hull breaches. And
Yeah, Romanov knows how to deal in the frontier. That's where she comes from. So I'll advise the captain. I'll advise the captain on that.
very well. Since we are starting a new session, however, the GM also gets to draw additional threat. And the Kzinti were nice enough to leave me quite a bit from last time.
God damn it.
That is
Alright.
6 points drawn for every player present. Well, rather every player in the game, plus the 8 left over. So I am now standing at 14 threat for.
Wait, 6 for every player?
No,
Wait a second.
rather 1 for every player. It is 6 in total.
God, my heart.
That was awesome, man. I thought we're going like final episode. Well, this is our final episode. Or
This is
What?
the
Like 40 threat? We're
This is
going
the-
down
this is-
today.
This is the
I'm
penultimate
passing my threat to Saral.
Oh, I have some ideas for threat.
well,
episode.
I
Yeah,
don't doubt it.
we're in the penultimate episode, I do believe.
Indeed, this is the penultimate episode of season 1. We are actually very close to wrapping the season, but we still have a couple stories here. All right, so let's see. Other than that, would others have anything in particular they are doing with the time? Either things they would say that they've done whilst getting repairs, or anything that you've done since in deep space. Let's kind of go down the list here. Shira, was there anything that you would want to say to that effect?
Nothing out of the usual, really.
All right. Ben, anything for Dr. Lambeth?
No, haven't got any thoughts.
All right.
Yeah.
Felix, anything on your end with Thrall?
No, nothing I can really think of. I think since this is his expertise, he is deep in the sensors at the moment.
Fair enough. Well, then
Romanov has one other thing. Have all departments report supply statuses. While we are there, if there's any just minor shit that is just, like maybe the doc doesn't have enough bandages or something, just do a general query on that to all quartermaster.
Well, I figured that's what we do already.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
I figured that was assumed that we just
Okay.
we get little minor supplies and repairs and all that kind of stuff. I
Yeah.
want to get extra for certain ideas I have.
Yeah.
You'll have to tell me what those are, Captain, because my idea is we get in a lot of fights, and having extra hull material is a good deal.
Actually, I wouldn't mind a scene for Shira and Romanov and Shark.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough. Well, we will set up something. Is there any place in particular you would like this sequence to take place? We've got
You know what?
engineering,
In the
we've got the armory, we've got. Go ahead.
Captain's. What is it? What do they call the captain's eating area? The captain's mess
The galley.
or the galley?
We could do the captain's mess. Sure, she'll take them.
If it's private, captain's mess. If not, usually usually Eula and Romanov usually eat breakfast together in they usually meet up beginning of first shift at the mess hall.
Yeah, the captain's mess actually works fine.
Okay.
It's perfect.
Okay. I will put that in. I'm looking at, there it is. Would you believe it, Panda, even though we have it in our other game, I actually have not, I never gave us a Captain's Mess set for this one, so
Yes.
it took me a moment to just locate that for us.
No worries. No worries. You're good.
Yeah.
Let me
So.
find. Let me find.
It's
the freaking-
basically just a little cupboard.
let me
It
find the
is.
conversation.
Well, yeah, exactly. I made Zach find a new set.
It's not so much a new set as it is an older one that that hasn't been used, or that I haven't used for this game yet.
The Studio Union guys were pissed because they had to build it and it hasn't been used yet.
Yeah.
But hey, they got paid. So,
Yep.
you know.
Pay everyone in the writing process. Writers, directors, actors, pay your creatives what they deserve and don't screw them on the mini rooms of the streaming. This is a
That's right.
this is a pro union stream here.
Pro Union!
Yay.
Anyway, all right. So Captain's Mess, we have on this set. Those of you in the stream will be seeing this in just a moment here. I'll put Sharp. We'll sit you down. You're already all eating dinner here. You can adjust how you are seated as however you wish, but for our purposes, we will start off here with the three of them, a yeoman standing around, ready to occasionally top off anybody's water. What's everybody eating today?
Is it beginning of first shift? Or are we doing dinner? What's the menu?
Breakfast. Sure. Breakfast works for me.
Gosh.
I can always.
I'm thinking she's gonna order an omelet. You know, just a juicy omelet with. And she's not vegan, although she leans vegan. You know, because that what Sorrel hates, that Vulcan influence. That said, she still consumes a certain amount of meat. So today she's going to indulge in that. Sausage, cheese, onion, omelet.
Shira?
Probably porridge and fruit salad.
Very well. And Sharp.
Oh, and hash browns. Gotta have the hash browns if you're going to do this. You gotta do it right.
Definitely. Sharp, anything in particular?
She will have. She just wanted French toast, but Alonso knows his place, even though she doesn't ever enforce that shit. And so she's gotten like a full garnished, like neatly thick French toast that is lightly powdered, just lightly sprinkled, snowed upon with powdered sugar, like an omelet that is very neatly folded and perfect, with a bit of green pepper, some olives, with a there's a dash of bacon, not too much, and certainly still all of it very fresh. And followed by some strawberries that are neatly cut and the tops removed.
Exactly. I can see Alonso with like a glove of some sort is taking he's going Salt Bay but with cinnamon just over the French toast.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll take a little side of whatever he's brewed up for the day, because he often brews up interesting stuff. So a side of whatever he's got, you know, that would complement my omelet and hash browns.
Yep. He will pour his a special blend of coffee.
Oh,
Boss has got to keep their strength up.
This has suddenly turned into a Japanese RPG with needlessly beautiful pictures of food.
Yes, it has, and I'm here for it.
It's my headcanon that, like, even though Sharp's like, just give me French toast, it's like, or whatever, like some dish, it's always like artisan level, and she's just like, okay, Sure.
Well,
Um,
I can't do any less. I gotta keep the boss happy.
Well, and I'll point out in the episodes, they actually talk a lot about the food that they're eating whenever
Yeah.
they're in the captain's
Yeah.
nest.
all right. So she just eats. They probably had a few some small talk already about various things. But she says, so you both know that we've been dealing with a number of interesting encounters, and I, as much as I love the Aegis, Shira, I'm sure you have a better assessment of how of an uphill battle we've been having a habit of running into. Yes?
We've punched above our weight.
We've statistically encountered more situations than ships usually do. Yes, I am in total agreement.
And
We're
certainly
punching above our weight.
with the encounter with the Kazinti was very, even I admit it's a bit of a close call.
Yeah.
Very close. Yes.
And as honorable as it is to have a duel and a very straight up fight, I think as any good tactician or any good fighter knows that you always try to find ways of leveling the playing field.
Win from where you're at.
I mean that is why we threw a ship at them last time. But it was sort of the space equivalent of jamming a broken bottle into someone's face.
I loved that, Shark. That was beautiful.
I did not think
I
that
know, but I'm commenting on its raw beauty and the destruction that it brought.
So I've been thinking of some ideas, and I'm not an engineer, but from what I understand of my own experiences with pirates who also have to deal with similar predicaments, that one needs to be creative in their ideas, and certainly ways of changing things up. Forcing the enemy to not expect what we throw at them. She pulls out a pad. This is just a rough idea I've had. I've seen it once or twice with the stray, more creative-minded of brigands. I'm gonna post that over here to chat.
Is that going on Discord?
It's going Discord.
Okay. In I see it. Okay.
I was hoping either one of you can make some
Let me take a
suggestions
look
or
at it.
perhaps ways of improving it.
And so you know, we've never really discussed this, but I am also a weapons engineer.
She just eats her food patiently, letting you two look at the single pad.
While Shira's looking at it, she'll empty her salad bowl into a porridge and mix it all together.
Oh, that friggin' porridge is probably also very nicely done, just not as superb as the captain's is. Friggin' porridge. You might as well ask him, like, friggin' just throw cold cereal at you.
Warm porridge?
I'm still looking at this.
Yeah.
It's an interesting suggestion.
It's simple, and it's the reason why I managed to scrounge up the extra deck plating and power generators.
Essentially little limpet mines, I guess.
You know,
So essentially, you want to construct mines out of this?
they're not going to be very destructive. It's mostly we want them used for slowing them down. Caltrops. Think of more caltrops than
Caltrops, thank you for the analogy. That's viable. I am a weapons engineer. This is essentially using whole material that way. I like the idea. Caltrops. Anything to keep them busy, to force them to divert their crew's capacity to react to a situation starts to level the playing field.
It would also jeopardize their ability to create a subspace field, which allows us to get some distance, even escape.
Fair enough. What do I think of this from the character's point of view? Oh, great GM in the barrier.
Well, from what you're reading off the pad, it seems like a fairly simple design. Honestly, a very simple bit of asymmetric warfare. What this essentially boils down to, and this is partly for those of you that are watching in the chat here, the pad is detailing what she's referring to here as a harmonic limpet caltrop. Essentially, taking some of the surplus deck plating you have and weaponizing it by installing some of the power cells and miniaturized versions of the hull polarizing technology that that if properly interacted with would essentially be drawn into high energy sources from a passing ship, most likely the warp nacelles, and that when the mine were to interact with them, that it would potentially cause an impact and even breach upon the engine location. And
Are you talking that these would be sucked in towards the nacelles because the buzzard rams?
It'd be drawn to the nacelles and the deflector dish because those
are the 2 points on the ship generating fields ahead of the vessel.
Yeah.
The buzzard rams collects hydrogen and material that is processed.
In essence, the moment it is flat on a surface to a ship's hull, it will. There are packets attached to the plating that will flash fuse to the whole plating, while a widget or a simple mechanism will reveal a drill that will drill into the hole and then melt, self-destruct and melt, creating a whole bunch of.
I like this a lot. I like the idea.
yes,
From an engineering standpoint, GM, how viable is this?
Oh, it seems pretty simple here. The hardest part might be calibrating the necessary sensors and drills for it, but it wouldn't be necessarily that difficult. And this is probably, you figure, a little more useful if the opponent is using using energy shield technology, which this might be able to slip past. Hull plating, or with polarized hull plating, they'd actually probably have a little more resistance to it. But in any case, any ship that gets hits with these, there is more of a chance that it would, given where it's going to be drawn to, it is more likely to be able to disrupt crucial elements of the sort of warp, spatial engineering and warp geometry that would allow a ship to pursue if it came to a situation where the Aegis tried to run at warp, basically.
Right. I like the caltrop idea. Would it be better to have them be less than 10 meters? Would that give a strategic advantage in terms of bypassing a ship's defenses, especially if they're more advanced than we are? Or is 10 meters to be the optimal length?
If you could go smaller, it might. The problem is that the technology doesn't really exist in a fashion where you could go much smaller.
Okay.
Also, the small it is, the less destructive it is. You need more of them.
Yeah, and That the question whether you get diminishing returns at that point.
I think it's something we can work on over the next couple of weeks. Produce a prototype and then
Test
see.
it.
Yeah, test it.
Excellent. There's a few other ideas I need to ponder, but those require more resources.
I think this one is really solid because often our situation is we need to exit the combat situation and catch our breath and plan. And this gives us a way to do it.
She nods.
Excellent thinking, Captain.
She looks over at Shira.
Yeah,
I've heard
it's
a lot.
got good tactical use. It'll buy us time and space, especially against a superior foe.
Do you think I can get through more common, commonly produced Vulcan or Andorian shields? They're typically the most prolific around here.
It should be able to have a good chance of getting through energy shielding.
Excellent. She just smiles.
And I might be able to add something to that to assist that process. This would probably increase the time to
Part of the appeal, or the appeal I was going to make with this design, was its simplicity and easily to produce. And
right. Well, I'll have to research this, but this is a idea we'll throw on the table. In the late 20th century, materials were treated that were on various aircrafts that were designed to capture frequencies, specifically radar. It was all a treatment done to the materials before they were laid on the surface of the vehicle. It's possible we could treat to target certain frequencies, making them a little bit harder to realize that the caltrops are even there, or that they've, that they won't know until they've latched.
Part of the design is that the power generation is small enough that it's not really.
I'm not looking at power generation. I'm talking about bounce back from sensor readings. But
it should just look like debris, if anything else. Especially if you time it right, it can definitely look like debris. She says with a smile, like a confident smile.
Well, we do shed a lot of debris, so.
Yeah.
She'll give you the percentage of which we tend to lose pieces of our hull in battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be able to improve the design over time. I think easy to produce, and what we can do here is the priority. But the design could even be improved at a later point for sensor absorption. I'd have to play around with that. That would take me a while.
And sensor absorption is currently not on my mind. Just simply its production and ability deployment.
Yeah, that is the priority.
I'd like this to get done within a week's time.
Where are we at engineering-wise? How many teams can I spare on this? Where are we at this point?
You could probably put a team on it, but that'll be something to figure out later, I think. This'll be you just preliminarily running, or you're going to run some preliminary numbers and start thinking, we can probably produce some, if not like a full complement, and yeah, well, that can be worked out later, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Anything else you guys wanted to do in this scene here?
When we're done eating, and people are getting up to leave, she'll say, "Sure, if you can stay a moment."
Of course.
She'll just nod to Romanov that she's dismissed. And then
okay, see you two later.
See ya.
She'll wait for the door to close.
It closes there. Alonso, Romanov, even the yeoman standing there, contrary to what you see there, are all gone.
I've been hearing the news reports myself, and I'm sure you're aware of them.
Nothing good.
Wars typically aren't. I've been asking Athena to find a way of gain any sort of direct communications with your family. But if you need anything, Lieutenant, just ask.
I don't think what I need is within your power to grant.
You'll be surprised. She smiles. How are you holding up?
Lacking sleep, constantly worrying, despite not being able to do much, or anything at all. For when I'm on duty and have got stuff to do. That away mission on the Kazinti ship, that was great.
Well, I'm glad that everyone was back from it. Make sure that your sleep doesn't jeopardize your duty.
Of course.
I don't mind having the stiff antennae of a dutiful Andorian officer, especially a security officer. She gets up. But I need you 100%.
Yes, sir. I won't interfere with my duties.
She nods. Dismissed.
Very good, sir.
Okay. Elsewhere on the ship, Saral, you have spent a good bit of time going between engineering the cargo bays and the sensor dome on the bottom of the, like in the ventral hull, back all the way down on, excuse me, here. Down on deck 13, where the main array is located. At present, Commander Patel, who is overseeing things on the bridge and will temporarily be played by whom I will temporarily treat as an NPC, has requested your help coming up to assist with work on the bridge, getting final calibrations in on those sensors.
Okay. Then I'll head up to the bridge.
Yep. You find Patel in the captain's chair, not entirely comfortable, but maybe just taking it a little easier, or rather, it's a better suit to him, given the number of stressful situations he has been in. This seems like a pretty low-stakes situation, so he's the slightest bit more relaxed. Sorrel, there you are. Good to have you up. Yeah, we're still trying to press out the range on the sensors, make full use of the sensitive long-range equipment. I'd appreciate if you would be able to give them a whirl. And well, I know you're great with equipment diagnostics. That shuttle of yours functions pretty well.
Well, either that or it doesn't function at all, so I know. It's life of extremes. The sensors should be up from the maintenance status. At least I think everything we can do down there has been done, so let's give it a whirl.
All right. Patel will leave the captain's chair. Ensign, do you mind terribly?
The certainty of command.
What? Oh, of course. Just gets up.
Steward sets aside.
Oh, just let me close some of these things. Jesus.
Browsing other options, or running a
No,
few
no.
other...
I just want to make it more available to you, sir.
Well, so yeah, Patel will invite you over, Saral, and I'll say, all right, I guess let's try to run basic long-range scan and see how far we could push it out. Would you care to give me, Saral, a reason and science roll? with somebody rolling for the ship's sensors and science.
Do we have any momentum?
There is no momentum.
Fantastic. So is this like just to see if they function at all, or
Pretty
like
much.
not at all, but
I
like
I
so we
will
want
say
to succeed?
I will say that I'm actually just going to say this is a difficulty 1 task. So anything you get over over that 1 success will generate momentum, and you will get a sensor readout.
You know what? Since Soral has been so heavily involved with getting the sensors up, I think it's fair to go bold science.
Fair enough. The
Because
GM
everything he has his fingers in is in danger of exploding at any moment.
that
I assume sensor operations counts as a focus.
sensor operations will most definitely count as a focus here.
Fantastic.
And that is 3 successes from Saral, which will definitely clear the difficulty. The GM is also going to take 1 point of threat. Whoever is rolling for the ship, 2 things. First, you can, well, of course, give me the sensors and science roll, if you please. And then also be sure to go ahead and reset any power or hull plating.
And do you want me to roll for that, or?
If you'd like to volunteer to roll the ship, then go right
Sure.
ahead.
Can I have somebody else handle momentum today? Because I'm also.
I'll take over.
Okay, great.
All right.
Okay, you want sensors. Let me find the ship. There you are. Sensors and what was the second item?
Science.
Science. Sensors and science. And it is 1 die.
It is.
And Starship task roll.
You know what? I'm also going to re-roll the 0 because I didn't spend no talent points for nothing.
Exactly. Very good.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, that being the case, yeah, that will be a total of 4 successes from Saral, with one of those being a reroll, and then the ship also gives you a point of momentum or rather a success as well. So that will come out to 5 successes, which translates to 4 points of momentum, which I will go ahead and deal out to you.
Thank you.
And
Excellent.
yeah, Patel is looking through one display that seems pretty clear. All the numbers are coming in good. Everything's looking fine. How about you, Saral?
Sensors seem to be working great so far. Some slight fluctuations in the EM bands, but that's to be expected. And I'm detecting debris from a battle site. These pauses. Has there been a battle here recently?
Patel just blinks for a moment, and any sign of comfort that he had on his face. I'm sorry, could you say that again?
Well, as you can see, I would turn the screen, but I don't think this is a thing. It's like I just pointed at the screen bands, and it's like, here, this is clearly metal particulates and smaller shrapnel. The distribution pattern suggests high impact velocity origin, so
2.9 light years off our course, and this looks recent. Oh. Mr. Crichton, alert the captain, please. Yes, sir. Bridge to Colonel Sharp. Colonel Sharp, please respond.
Sharp here.
Colonel, we may have identified some sort of debris from a wreckage, a possible recent sign of combat.
Identification? Any identification? And how recent?
Patel will rejoin here. I've been running over the spectral analysis from the hull plating. Something between the Vulcans and Andorians, Captain.
Set to condition red. Conley, make our approach to the battle site. Notify Dr. Lambeth for any possible casualties.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will. Patel says it's okay, Crichton. Will do, Captain. I'll see you on the bridge here. And he will walk over to the command chair and press that convenient button that helps to set alert status. The red light bulbs go on and the mood lighting goes up as Crichton starts shouting orders through the intercom in the background. Action stations, action stations. All crew, man your action stations. Set to condition red. And Patel says, just one day would have been nice with, well, I don't know. It feels like we're doing this once a week.
Look at the bright side, Patel.
There's a bright side to it.
The sensors are working great.
He just kind of gestures off to the side with his head. It's like, yeah, that's a point. It is certainly a point.
Yeah, and Soral kind of just goes back to this binocular readout thing that they have on the old ships and tries to get more information.
Yep. So.
All right, the captain will come up.
Yeah. We'll move you there. I'm going to put us back on the warp screen for a moment as Aegis tries to close the distance with the wreck after making its change of course. And yes, alerts are being passed throughout the ship. You are broadly aware that there's been some sort of wreckage spotted in the distance. Based on what's been reported, rumors are maybe a little uncertain. You probably don't have a full sense of the status updates until each of you make your posts, but Lambeth, you are warned that there is the possibility of casualties that you are going to have to provide aid to.
Yep.
And everyone else is going to man their stations. But actually, Lambeth, would you also want to be on the bridge just to get a first look at what might be going on? Or would you prefer just to stay down in sickbay?
I think it makes more sense to stay down in sick bay if he's trying to stay ready for casualties. So we'll go with that.
Fair enough. All right. So, with everyone at their stations, a bit of time elapses as Shira, Sharp, the two of you make it to the bridge. You find everyone at their station. Soral, I will just, unless you want to leave the bridge to go elsewhere, you can stand over by the engineering console, or even stick with Patel and stay near sciences.
I'm not giving up science. This is interesting.
Fair enough. So, you hang out.
The nerds contained in one section.
There's like a bit of velvet rope around it.
Yes, precisely. All right. So all of you are in position here. Connolly says, "Captain, we're approaching what appears to be the battle site."
Crichton, make sure that our beacon is active and certainly as clear as it can be.
Aye, sir. I'll be ready to signal anyone, though I'm not picking up any signs of comm traffic. Connolly will, presuming you give him the latitude to do so, he will take you guys out of warp.
Yep.
Okay. So, let's see here.
Nice and easy, Conley.
Aye, sir. Aye, sir. That's not what I sound like. That's what Crichton sounds like. That would be goofy.
Isn't it one and the same?
One
Oh.
GM, many voices. Let's see here. So yeah, with that, I'll need to blow out on the screen a little bit. Let's back up the zoom now. Okay. Approaching site now, coming up on visual, and Connolly is going to Connolly is going to adjust the screen, and you see out ahead of you signs of dozens of broken and burning vessels, clouds of ambient debris, um, small, just barely smoldering plasma fires, and broken hulks of vessels out in space. This giving you but a small impression of what is amongst the field, but there's easily almost a dozen vessels visible in this location.
I would like to scan for life signs.
I will allow you a task to run a full scan of the area. We're going to call this Reason and Science Difficulty 3.
Difficulty 3.
Yes.
How did we go about buying die with threat and momentum?
So the first die comes at a single point of whichever you are using to purchase. The second one comes at two. Basically it's the escalating cost principle.
Okay, fair, fantastic. Then I would definitely want to go both signs again for one die. I'm tempted to buy another die because survivors, but it's 2 momentum.
Just a quick question. You're using the sensors, right, on this?
Yes.
Okay. So because advanced sensor suites reduce a difficulty of a roll when using ship sensors by 1.
And that is definitely true here. So that is going to reduce the difficulty to 2.
Okay, that's fair. Then 1 die is probably enough.
Okay.
The ship supports, I assume?
With sensors and signs, yes.
Fantastic.
If you want to spend 2, I mean, this is casualties are certainly a priority here.
I mean, 2 momentum. I'm fairly confident we can get 2 successes with the reroll.
All right.
And the support. If that's not happening, then that's not meant to be.
That's true enough. Go for it.
Hey.
Fantastic.
2
and I'm
successes
gonna
from
reroll
Saral.
the 0.
Hey.
Great. Wipe sweat. Who's rolling for the ship?
I will.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
Okay, here it goes. And what is the combination?
Sensors plus signs once again.
What I thought. Just thought I'd check.
Okay. So that is no successes from the ship, but you do clear it on your own Saral with 3 successes, and you earn back a point of momentum. Panda, if you want to go ahead and draw that.
How do I draw it?
Oh, here, go ahead and delete that. I'll just deal it out. There should be. I thought there was a draw option that just lets you add it to the pool.
There's draw. Okay, sorry. I said remove and draw, and they're both red. So I was like, oh, I don't want to remove draw. That was one word.
All
one
right.
button, rather.
So, Saral, from what you can discern, I will give you a little bit more specificity with what you are detecting. The actual complement of vessels in this area would suggest, I think, it would actually be 9 warships that lay wrecked here. Based on what limited information the Aegis has, they can parse out from the Vulcans 2 of the larger mainline Dakir class vessels, along with 2 more smaller patrol vessels, likely in the tonnage of like a Maymora class or something smaller. For the Andorians, it appears to be quite an assortment. You are less familiar with the type of classes, although one of them appears to be a full mainline cruiser. There are also several lighter ships, which the sensors lay as conjecture, possibly destroyers, light cruisers, a frigate. 5 Andorian ships left behind here. But unfortunately, like among the debris, there are sparse signs of anything that would have been able to survive just the sheer level of fire. Like there's such heavy readouts of like antimatter explosions, high intensity particle weapons. This was an absolute slugfest. But your sensors do tease out one interesting set of signatures.
I relay like all the information about chips and sizes kind of as I read them out. Like I'm not entirely sure if the sensors are calibrated correctly. According to these readouts, there is a smaller craft on one of the Vulcan cruisers, and I'm detecting a human, a Denobulan, and an Aurelian.
She like her eyebrows stitched a little bit.
I would love to have this be a bad joke, but it's all I have.
Scavengers, maybe?
It's like small craft, like a small pirate vessel, or shuttle, small.
Think more in the line of a runabout, or something slightly smaller. Basically, similar in fashion to your craft, or in terms of the tonnage of your personal shuttle. It's likely something small meant to accommodate a very light handful of occupants.
A skiff or something.
Yeah, something that it's not the fastest ship in all likelihood, and it's certainly a bit sparse on creature comforts, but it's also, I mean, it can get a few people by along a it can get a few people across the stars.
It gets you 2 places.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seems to be a very small shuttle, maybe runabout size.
Just raise an eyebrow to runabout size. Runabouts don't exist.
They do now.
This is I allow the GM to interject. This is actually how the Utopia Planitia book, released by Modiphius, identifies different tonnages of small craft, ranging from what in this era would be the very common shuttle pod to proper shuttle craft. And then runabouts as their own sort of size. They are exceptionally rare in the era, but they're basically a runabout is meant to be any sort of like long haul warp capable shuttle that can ferry multiple people.
Yeah, listen, Zach. They have to start paying you at some point. for the Utopia of commercials. It's indecent at this point that they're not paying you.
I I'm just happy for the occasional like and retweet or boost
Yeah.
or anything of the sort.
So, have they detected us yet?
I mean, I'm assuming I'm not detecting any sensor pings or movement from them, so I would say it doesn't seem like it.
With
There's
all
a lot of background radiation and energy signatures going on. How old would I say the battle is, by the way? Days? Hours?
no more than
Weeks?
2 days.
Yeah. And I mean, this is like maybe 2 days old.
Oh.
So for them to be here at all at this point is suspicious.
Is there, Connolly, if you can make a slow approach, like a parent who caught their kid out late?
Oh,
Or just come along menacing with the sun behind you over them.
I wouldn't know anything about that, Captain. I was a good boy.
As
We,
we all were, just with a smile.
Yep, I'll just give you a wink. Alright, so Connolly is going to roll control plus con.
While that's happening, she'll look back where it's still roll. Is there any outgoing warp trails?
Would that be a new roll or momentum spend?
I'd say momentum in order to obtain the information.
Well,
Yeah, I think.
We did get 1 momentum. So
Yeah, I think that's a fair spend. Just like who limped away after the battle.
Okay, so with the momentum that you would have earned from that roll, I will say that you can identify. There's probably at least 3 or 4 Vulcan warp signatures that departed from this site. Not all in the same direction, at least one making its way back towards what would be sort of Vulcan territory, others kind of in other directions. It's hard to tell. There might be an Andorian signature, but it seems to have come out on the same vector that it came in, and one of the Vulcan warp trails appears to have followed along that, so it's all kind of intermingled, and I'd
it's a
say,
mess.
yeah, it's a reasonable guess there that a ship might have survived this awful mess, but you would be hard pressed to say for certain.
Yeah. I mean, what it looks like is, and I would say this kinda quietly, that some of the Vulcan vessels seem left, and one Andorian possibly is Vulcans in pursuit. So this battle does not seem to have gone well for the Andorians, or for anyone for that matter. It kind of looks at the readouts of like all the debris. That's why some of the debris is probably people frozen in space.
Unfortunately, that is probably the case. Patel will kind of look over and say, I hate to ask, Shira, would you say this is about, like, I vaguely remember seeing one of the updates suggesting that, like, Andorians work in smaller group sizes or independent fleets or something like that. Do you think we're looking at one?
Probably.
Also, what occurred to me, don't the Vulcans operate like in smaller group sizes because they like over-engineer their ships? This seems like a massive involvement of Vulcan ships.
Seems
And
like an ambush.
they still got thrashed too. Like, even though they won, they got thrashed too.
Yeah. So, Saral, I don't think you'd necessarily know much about the current disposition and order of battle for Vulcan combat groups and what they're
Oh
trying
no,
to
absolutely
do.
not.
Yeah. So that would certainly be your guess, but if anyone wanted to attempt to assess like anything about that. It'd probably require an insight and security roll in order to try to take.
Can I vouch for insight and command, given my history?
Oh, that might be enough. I am going to set your roll though to difficulty 3 because Vulcans were not something you've dealt with, and you particularly haven't seen much of this
Makes sense.
conflict. You've been deliberately kept away from this.
Yeah. Okay. Insight command. I'm gonna spend an extra die or spend a momentum if that's fine with people.
Go for it.
Strategy for focus.
Strategy definitely applies. Well, that is 2 successes and a complication on the board. First and foremost, Sharp, how would you like to evaluate that complication? Would you prefer to take a narrative complication? Would you prefer to give the GM
I'm gonna re-roll that
threatening?
because I have cautious command. So,
well, there you go.
because I was like, wait a moment, I think I have a talent for this. I do. There we go.
Yay.
Yep, since you have the cautious for command, that allows you to re-roll when you buy an additional d20 with momentum, and that does give you a 3rd success, giving you a little bit more insight based on both the remains of the Vulcan battle group and what is suggested from those who managed to limp away. It seems more likely than not that the Vulcans, while they have quite considerable cruisers, they probably have prepared for the sort of tactics of an Andorian battle group by which I would say as a note seems to be to operate in sort of independent task forces or wolf packs, and kind of be able to work autonomously or sometimes in concert with others if they coordinate. Something that sort of favors, one could say, a fleet captain model or something like that. The Vulcans, in order to counter this, it would make sense that they are essentially trying to take advantage of those relatively smaller numbers of independent groups and try to marshal enough forces to where not only do they have technological parity, of course, but they bring in the numbers necessary to do so. The Vulcans probably have, as the largest of the regional powers, they have the ships to do that. Although to do that frequently would probably require a very good sensors or intelligence edge. Otherwise, you risk. Go ahead.
And certainly it still costs them pretty dearly.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me wrong. The Andorians still pack quite the punch, but if the Vulcans were able to essentially marshal superior numbers in each encounter, then the basic strategy could be described as them aiming for a defeat in detail, concentrating forces against smaller Andorian units and trying to work them down. This probably wasn't all the way up to that threshold because the number, the difference in numbers was relatively small. That's probably why you have as many casualties among the Vulcans as you do. But yeah.
Would I also be correct that everyone on the bridge is either directly looking or avoiding looking directly at Shira and Sarah at this point?
The captain's not looking at either one of them right now. Just looking at the battle.
I think I'm in engineering, probably.
Yeah.
But she just watches for a moment and blinks a little hard, or like flutters her eyes a little bit as if something got her eye, and just kind of rubs her with her left thumb. She rubs her left eye a little bit. She just looks back over to Saral. Saral and Shira, should there be any dangers we should be concerned about? Mines, anything that would deter vultures, or any reinforcements for that matter?
I'm trying to argue my way through Vulcan logic if mines would make sense. The problem with pure logic is you could argue for both ways.
There's plenty of things to be concerned about. The warp cores are still containing antimatter. They might detonate. It could be unexploded munitions, unused torpedoes.
I'm aware of battlefields. I'm talking about anything that either side could have intentionally left behind, Lieutenant.
So, as you were saying this, you are kind of rounding your way through the battlefield. Connolly is using the debris and residual energy signatures to mask your approach as best as possible. I'll put us back on the bridge for a moment here. Connolly looks at here and says, sir, we're rounding it. I've identified the vessel. It appears to be small. Smaller vessel. Looks. Well, I'd say I'm a little fuzzy on some bits of my starship recognition, but that looks to be an Earth design.
Switch our screens to focus on it.
All right, and I'll put us
on
back.
visual. There we go. That's a term for Star Trek. On visual.
Yep. And let's see. Starting to dart away from one of the cruisers.
We couldn't sneak up on it. Damn.
Well, it is in a position now to where it is easily intercept. You are in easy intercept range. Let's see. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do.
I had the grapple ready.
Yeah, sir, I can bring us in nice and close on him.
Put a hand on the kid's shoulder, would you, Shira?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Control plus security, assisted by the ship, which I believe that will... I don't think that's weapons and security. I've quite forgotten from last session, so let's double check. Oh, there it is, tactical. Okay, the ship assists with structure and security.
I'll add to your enormous pool of threat to get an extra dice.
Very well, very well.
Oh, yes. 4 successes.
All right. And, yep, somebody wants to roll for the ship. That will be control plus security. Or rather, structure plus security. Okay, no help from the ship, but you still gain 2 points of momentum, sharp, if you care to draw that.
Yep.
The grapplers project out from the hull and get a target lock on the vessel. All too late, it realizes as the cables fire out and a claw grabs it right along its midsection. This is essentially a slightly thicker version of the Phoenix style craft. So whereas that was obviously a very Spartan style test flight ship, and there were the later prototypes that were used to test the warp engines. This one was built with a thicker sort of primary hull or like central portion where the missile would be. intended to allow for multiple compartments, kind of like actual habitation. Sherry, you will confirm, however, you have target lock, or rather, you have it on. You have it caught up.
Grapple secure. We've got them on the line.
Sir, they have just activated a subspace beacon. I am picking up IFF on them now. Captain, it's a Centauri vessel.
Oh.
Everything leads back to Centauri.
Crichton, if you do me the honor, she gestures.
A Centauri vessel. This is the Earth starship Aegis. Please acknowledge. So yes, Crichton will attempt to signal again. Centauri vessel, please identify. A voice comes back over the screen, or rather over the audio. It is a slightly startled sounding male voice who's having to shout back to his other occupants. Hey, guys, calm down. I got the complaint up. But this seems like a less ideal part of. I'm sorry, we are 2 days into this mess. So keep your shit together, okay? I've got this. All right. Earth starship Aegis. This is the Lily. Funny seeing you in these parts.
Same would be to you. This is Captain Lillian Sharp of the Starship Aegis. Certainly, we're curious about your presence here in the ruins of a battlefield. What brings you out to these parts?
Oh, wait a minute. Cosmic retcon. The voice is actually female here. I am so sorry.
All right.
Well, we were just in the neighborhood, not entirely by choice yet. Look, could we possibly discuss this without the grappler? We're happy to talk to you if you want us to come aboard.
Certainly. It's been a while since we've met another human in these parts. Would you care for lunch? An early lunch?
Yeah. We can do lunch. We can schmooze around a bit. I'll even sign some autographs for you if you like.
Autographs. I certainly would be honored.
Oh, they don't have any idea who you are. Look, Tenkite, or Fen, just really keep it together.
She just looks over to kind of like looks around at the bridge and just kind of like, okay, these people.
I'll have security meet him at an airlock.
Thank you. Though, let's make sure that they actually are docking with us. Just says the show.
I'll reel them in nice and close.
She'll switch back over. I imagine she asked Crichton to pause, or mute for a second. But she'll give a nod to Crichton to switch back over.
Fair enough.
Given the fragile state of your craft, I insist that we help you, Doc. I hope it's no problem.
Yeah, that's fine.
Terrific. See you soon. And just makes a gesture of cut the line.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So
I'll go meet him at the airlock.
Yep. Who wants to be down at the airlock?
It's my ship. Captain's prerogative. I'll go.
Yep. Anyone else?
Yes. Do we know if they've got any injured?
They
Should
could
the
have
doctor be there?
diseases, so the doctor could come along.
I'll be there.
Yeah, the doctor will come.
Shira.
You want me on the mission as well? Engineering?
Sure.
Or it could be
No,
my
you-
alternative character.
Nah,
Be
you can
smarter.
the engineer can come along.
Yeah,
Anybody can come along. Sure, why not? These are weird, interesting people.
Yep. Saral, anyone can come along. This means you have an invitation.
I'm
Yeah.
anyone! Yay! Oh, now would be a good moment to have like a
he
to have
is
like
our
a
guide. He might know he might know their names. Who the heck knows?
True. But this would be an amazing time to have like an old Vulcan military uniform. Just like, what were you doing on my ship?
Does Saral want to spend the opportunity cost to buy like to create an old Vulcan military uniform, like
No,
an
no, he
obviously
never
out of
was in
date
any
one?
military. No, I don't think he was ever in any military branch.
I mean,
Nah,
did he steal it from someone in the military?
Nah,
He
that
could have
feels
got left
like
at dry cleaners or something.
I could buy that he was and he got kicked out.
I would think it more
nah.
likely he bought it from like army surplus store and
Role playing.
yeah, just
Not
broken
even
it.
not even a Vulcan army surplus store, just like
It's like
somebody.
any.
Yeah.
This looks vaguely military.
Yep. It's like it's Eastern Coalition, All Earth type stuff, or worse yet, maybe like it's Klingon battle garb.
It's a brown coat from Firefly.
Yep.
It's just so old. It's not even Star Trek.
Yeah. All right. So, uh, time elapses as you reel in the vessel, and with, I'm sure, with a little bit of extra clarity, phase cannons are also set to where the implicit warning is that if you do run, then we're probably at range to knock out a warp nacelle.
I mean, I'll let their judgment be that. I'm not going to like aim my cannons, but it's like I'm a frigate. You're point blank range. You figure it out.
Yep. All right. So, first and foremost, let's zoom in this set a little bit for those of you in the stream here. Uh, 5 of you have gone down to the airlock in order to meet your new guests. Um, Patel will elect to stay on the bridge here, um, since, player character's not in. The door will open and 3 individuals will step out. Um, At their lead, first and foremost, is young, a younger Earth woman. You'd probably pit her sometime in the um, early to mid 20s, probably. Um, More likely on the mid end. Darker skin, long hair, worn down freely, in kind of a like an interesting sort of leather jacket that is largely zipped up and essentially what appear to be old Earth style jeans and some sort of utility belt with different gear on there. Even I would guess an empty holster where a weapon might be located. Uh, Very much sort of space wanderer adventurer type garb. Next
Right.
to her, there is the more noticeable, darker feathered individual whose wings struggle to fold in as it makes its way through there. He, it's hard to guess, though. Any of you that have any familiarity with the Aurelians would know that. Uh, I think that. Well, I'll just say that you can pick up vaguely that he's a male-presenting individual. The last of them appears to be also a female-presenting figure, and by process of elimination, and the slight signs of the facial ridges from her hair, which is it's mostly covered by bangs at this point, appears to be a denobulan, again wearing sort of hardy, roguish wear, less in the way of like anything utility-wise, but kind of a similar leather jacket, one that she wears open, shirt, and fairly simple but comfortable looking pants. Um, so, um, greetings there. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. You said this ship was the Aegis?
It is,
Huh.
and I am its captain, Colonel Sharp, Mako.
Colonel Sharp. Right. She regards you a little bit. Well, allow me to introduce the crew of the Lily. Have here one gesturing to the Denobulan woman. This would be Dr. Natala. She's a resident archaeologist, has some general interest in science and what have you. Tenkayet Fen here, um, gesturing to the Aurelian. He's a navigational enthusiast. He's been a good hand learning the ship. And, well, I suppose the last name would give enough away, but, I am Kara Sloan.
Add a character. Who?
Give me a reason and command roll, please.
Please get 00 so no one knows who this woman is.
This would
Have
be.
I heard of her?
I think there's a chance you would know. I'm going to say for any human character, this is a difficulty 1 roll. Saral, you may roll at difficulty 2.
Which
Also with
what was
command,
what was the roll
or-
again?
Science might also apply for you, but it would be command and reason.
Okay.
And I will award momentum to the highest roll here. So Romanov is going to score 1. Saral will score 2. Both of you technically.
Diplomacy, space navigation. Well, no, space navigation is not with it.
This would be anything more history related if anybody has something
Okay, well then
related to
that's
that.
a no for me. That's one.
Right. Well, nobody's getting momentum off of this, but and it does take you a moment to click, thinking, someone named Sloan, Alpha Centauri related. Well, who would be famous there? And then you think back a moment to how they identified themselves. The ship, the Lily. It strikes you that that ship may not be alluding to the flower properly, but rather to a first name. That of one Lily Sloan, who maybe didn't always get her proper due when it came to how integral she was in terms of the early warp program, but whose name very much deserved to be alongside that of Zephram Cochrane's. Might click a little for those of you in the Discord.
Yeah,
now.
it took it. I also googled it. It took her a moment to just sort of like a mid pause and then smile. Well, certainly, I am a little bashful that it didn't click as well as it should. But it's an honor to meet you.
Oh, yes. It's very nice to meet all of you, too. Now, would you kindly let go of my ship, please?
Of course. Certainly can. Though I'm curious of why such a renowned figure such as yourself would be out here, this far out.
You know, that's a story best held over lunch, you said?
Certainly can.
Do
Where's my manners?
do
Lieutenant
you?
Commander Aleska Romanov, Dr. Lambeth, Lieutenant Eula Shira, and my guide, Saral.
Oh dear, they have an Andorian and a Vulcan here. This ship makes no sort of sense to me, and it is also too small. The Aurelian in the back seems to be crumpling in on himself a little bit.
I do apologize for that. The ship is a little growing on in years, and certainly they had to be more make the most of space.
What?
She's long in the tooth, but she's quite capable.
She's also bigger than the Lily.
She is bigger, but yet the internal volume is not at all to my liking. Do you have any bigger rooms?
A few. If Shira, if you don't mind, leading the way.
We'll go to the mess hall then. That's a nice big room.
Okay.
Unless anyone fancies eating in the cargo bay.
Do you have an empty one?
No. She leads on to the mess hall.
Very well. Let's see. With the ship presently at still at action stations, I imagine the mess would be empty right at this time. So.
Yeah. I will switch over, or I'll hit the comm on the way over and way there and say, Crichton, if you can reduce the condition to yellow.
Aye, sir. Standing down from condition red, all hand, current shift maintain combat readiness. So, let's see then. Let's get everyone that's here copied. So just switching around the sets. The
1 second.
Sure thing. While the captain is away, would any of you particularly want to interact amongst this strange bunch here?
Cheryl pipe up. Sorry, everyone seems to know who this is. Am I supposed to know who this is?
Yeah,
I don't know who this is.
I'll pull you aside and say this was an individual who worked with Zephyrin Cochrane and and helped build the first.
Rather relative.
Well, I'm sorry. What was that?
She's clearly a relative of Lily Sloane's, rather, not.
Descendant.
Oh, okay. She's a descendant of Lily Sloane, who helped Zephyrin Cochrane.
Sorry, what did Zephyrin Cochrane do?
He created the first warp-capable vessel that initiated Earth's entrance into space and contact with the Vulcans.
Oh, so she helped. So she's a descendant of someone who helped the Earth's first warp program. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Was actually the right-hand woman of Zephyrin Cochrane. Helped bring about a whole new time of peace for Earth.
Yes, keep forgetting humans have only been warp capable for what, less than a century?
That is correct.
They have a good habit of catching up, she says with a wink to Shira.
All right. So, you enter the mess hall with sorry. All 8 of you enter the mess hall, with Shira stepping through at the lead and allowing others to pass into the room. The Aurelian is the first among this party to come in, and he immediately runs by one of the other tables and allows his wings to stretch out a bit. Oh, well, this ceiling is quite too low, but I feel there's more width in here. I rather appreciate this.
Enjoy the space.
Sloan will look at you and say, yeah, he's kind of needed that a little bit.
Little claustrophobic.
Tiny bit, she says, holding her finger and her thumb just millimeters apart.
Well, we'll try to make sure he's comfortable then.
Yep.
I'll have Alonso bring in a welcoming dish that just some good solid food.
Yeah.
Fresh too.
Solid, fresh foods, which probably means something with a little bit of Tellarite spice.
Now,
So,
well,
your
if it's anything like the Phoenix back in the museum, I'm certain the lot of you would enjoy some actual good food rather than rations.
Oh, Captain, you can do quite a bit with a protein resequencer and a few things that you pick up along the way. The Denobulan, Dr. Natala, as she was named, replies.
Certainly can.
And
Also,
of course, there's.
I'm not that messile, by the way. You're missing me.
Allow me to fix that. I thought the token had come over properly, but I was mistaken. Let me go back into the layer. We'll try to get this fixed. While that is happening, let's see here. Sorry, that just took me a moment there, and there you are. Yep, the three of them start taking tentative steps around the room. The Aurelian is the most comfortable at this with the larger room. The other two are maybe just a little less certain. How would you want to array yourselves, or do you want to try and split up the group? Do you want to keep them together to engage with them? If you guys want to take a moment to discuss, then I'll let you figure that out here.
Add a character. What do you think? What do you think we should
Maybe
do?
interesting to break them up a little bit.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea.
Thrall can have the Aurelian.
I just wanted to hang around. I feel like I have nothing to do with these people. That seems like a human thing that's happening here.
All right,
I'll sit down with Lily. She's an engineer.
Yeah,
Sloan is an engineer. Yeah.
I'll sit down also with Sloan. It's not Lily. It's Lily's her mom.
More likely granddaughter, you would guess from the relative age.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
No. I had to do the math. Granddaughter. Yeah. And Doctor Brian, if you don't mind chilling with the Denobulan, blah 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 blah, the other doctor. We can break things up a little bit.
Yeah, sure, can do that.
Ben. Sorry, I'm terrible with names. Yeah, so we'll split up like that. Shira, where would you like to go?
I will stand near the door, looking semi-menacingly at people.
So typical Andorian. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Captain, whom would you prefer to interact with?
Sloan seems to be more or less the leader, so I'll stick with Sloan.
Okay. So let's see. I'm just resizing some tokens a little bit. It should update for... There we go. Everything just kind of snapped into place for everyone watching on the stream. And we have those arrangements now. So, I guess let us figure out an order then in terms of how you want to interact here. Let's see. I guess Sharp, Lambeth, and Saral, if each of you could just give me a single D20 roll, we will invoke our house rule here. That is where the only roll we use for initiative purposes is to determine the order of a narrative engagement. And because this is Star Trek Adventures, we err towards low first. It looks as though the Colonel and Saral have both rolled a 10, and Lambeth has rolled a 14. So I think that we would go to a roll-off between Sharp and Saral here. 13 from the captain.
God fucking damn it!
Well, all right. Decided. Left.
I don't really know what
It's
am I supposed to do
Vulcan-
with this guy?
Vulcan and the bird, yes.
Just talk about science shit.
Talk about what he's doing here.
Yeah, so you are first up here as the Aurelian tentatively grabs a seat here and starts going over whatever fresh dish, the probably something very fruit heavy that Alonso has brought out.
So,
Ooh. Well,
what drives you out into space in one of the smallest ships available?
well, I suppose a typical ship that my people might take out isn't all that terribly large. We just design them a little better, or don't make you feel so enclosed. Imagine it, arrays of it. There's a proper domed area with multi-layer transparent aluminum, plasma glass, and other appropriate shielding so that one can look out into the wonders of space, and other bits with the projected screens. Sometimes we use augmented reality systems in order to simulate the external environment. I must admit I have a pair of goggles I've been working to jury rig for the Lily itself, but well, I wouldn't be out there, I suppose, save for a rather interesting dinner.
Dinner.
Oh yes, I was out travelling when I had run into a crew of Denobulans, and I don't know how much time you spend with them, but they are quite a communal lot. Very willing to share things. I believe in terms of mealtime, Sloan reference. Yes, Carol. She used a particular phrase for it. She likened it to tapas. I don't know what mealtime tapas is for those others, but I enjoyed a bit of the small plates, but it was quite interesting. I must ask, what brings you aboard this ship?
Convenience, I suppose, or inconvenience. Like looks to the captain briefly. And I found it better to not roam around alone for a while.
Oh, I can understand that, wanting to be part of a greater flock.
So it's quite a dangerous spot you picked.
Oh, well, it wouldn't have been so bad if. Well, I. He pauses for a moment. Well, I don't want to. I don't want to bore you with the details or bother too much. There's been too much bothering as it is today, and these past few days. I would also
Coming
not.
in?
Oh,
What was the first part?
there's been too much bothering these past few days, and I wouldn't want to bother you with the details.
Well,
Especially,
what brings you out into a battlefield? On a Vulcan cruiser, no less. And I kind of want to play on the fact that I'm Vulcan. Like, maybe he
yeah,
feels a bit caught red-handed.
yeah. Uh, I'll tell you what. Do you want to roll either something persuasive? Do you want to go for either like persuasion, intimidation, or like that you're kind of in a state of social conflict with him, and he's probably going to be less willing to share some of these details. So you might need to make a roll to figure out a little bit from him.
I think the closest is persuasion, but all my stats are equally shit. So if it's not science or engineering, let me out.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, I would kind of probably like persuasion. Maybe like putting a bit off balance. What were you doing on the ship of my people?
Okay.
Um,
We'll call this. Let's call this presence, and since you are leaning into the immediate situation, I think either command or security is going to be the stat you have to roll against here.
it's both bad.
Mm.
Uh,
He will be going with his own control plus command.
I don't know what focus isn't trying to sell you.
I don't
I
think
don't think.
troubleshooting or diagnostics really helps.
I mean, if I have to get out the phaser, I will argue for troubleshooting. um. Yeah, I'll try. Oh wow.
Oh, it did with 2 successes. I mean, yeesh. He was not particularly well controlled. He was so close, but not quite. Um, in any case, Sharp, you may draw an additional momentum, unless, well, yeah, go ahead and draw that extra momentum.
Isn't it 2? Because I beat him by 2?
Yes, but one of them is a floating point of momentum.
Oh yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Ooh, look, I don't want to immune your people. Uh, Frankly, I'm sure people do all sorts of desperate things during conflict, but, well, look, we wouldn't have been involved or been here if they hadn't come to us first. Trying to
Who
confiscate.
came to you first?
Oh, the Vulcans. We were just minding our business on course back for her home, and uh, all these ships just show up and try to take on everything we've tried to work for. I nearly cut out months of work.
Wait. Dial it back. So the Vulcans showed up.
Well,
This
yes,
battle group,
yes.
and it kind of points out the window.
Those,
And took what?
I. What didn't they take? They took. They took something. They could have been. Well, I don't know if I should tell you, and frankly, I don't know if I could properly do it justice. It's math, it's music, it is wording, both lyrical and gross. It is, extending his wings, something truly marvelous. And this will
Well,
come back here in a moment, as like his conversation's obviously going simultaneously.
so I'm just expecting him to hit like Lambeth with his wings, so as he stretches them out, with like the back of the head.
He is thankfully just far enough away, although you might get like a gust of wind as he does this. Uh, let's see. Look, I look. It's all very complicated, and frankly, I'm not even sure entirely what it all is. But I suppose there's a little bit that could be given, and I think that for our purposes here, because we are treating this as a social combat, I think we're going to drip drop this a little, whereas everybody gets an opportunity to do something here, and we'll kind of take turns from this point. Um, Now,
Okay.
I'll ask you guys at the as we're doing this. Would you prefer to adhere sort of to the broad dice rolls and how we engage the groups, or would you prefer to make it the more free form sort of way where anyone can essentially take the next action, or anyone who wants to talk a bit with their mark can chat?
I think it would be fun to take the action because that would show the flow of the narrative.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
Okay, who would like to go next then?
We'll go.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
I am whining and dining, Sloan. Just a casual sort of thing, but I'm adding the sharp charm. Just a slight. Just to loosen lips a little bit, or make her at least more comfortable.
And I'm just listening to her responses, being very friendly, you know.
Okay. Is there a particular sort of flavor to the opening engagement or questions you'd want to make here, Captain?
Uh,
Or any check you would want to start off with?
I wouldn't mind if I can roll a diplomacy or a command, a persuasion or presence of command with diplomacy to just sort of just do some nice small talk things that just trying to open up a little bit and kind of just have her talk about, herself, if anything, because I'm sure with a famous person like her, a lot of it's talking about, her grandmother or the dynasty back home rather than her. And I mean, Visenia had a lot to deal with that shit. So I know how to open that book a little bit. So
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So try to get her start talking about other things
Herself
here.
and what's going on with herself and things she's enjoying out here.
Yep. I will allow you to do that. I am going to spend 3 points of threat, however, to increase your complication range. So set that to 3, and you will.
I'm going to spend a determination here. Kirk was made famous for it, but I laid the groundwork.
Okay.
With diplomacy as well as my focus, and if you guys don't mind, because I really want to, get this going, I'm going to spend the floating momentum and 2 additional momentum to get 4 dice total.
Do it.
All right. She is going to contest with her insight plus command. See if she can parse out what you are doing here, Captain.
And I'm just, as we're talking, I'm keeping it, I'm watching.
Ooh. So it's the determination I'm spending as a crit, by the way.
Okay. So you need to score at least 1 success in order to beat with those 4 d20s. And you certainly do with 2, 3, yeah, it's 3 crits there that you rolled, and you do have That was actually a 19 there, which, with the threat I spent, would constitute a complication. So you succeed, but
But I have cautious.
you do have cautious command here, so you may re-roll that. That is a 16 on the die, so
That just
that
makes
will.
a 0.
Yep. All right. So you start entreating her with pleasantries. Said more focused on like finding out what she's about, basically.
Yeah, more she's about my intentions completely on her. I make sure that her that she is satisfied for both her food and her drink. And I watch her just carefully, kindly, follow in with a few words here and there, but mostly just to keep the conversation going.
Yep. She will, like, as you ask those first few questions, she will snap up a few bits of whatever Alonso's brought out. It's an interesting set of spices. These ingredients don't seem like they've been preserved too long. Did you get these fresh somewhere from a starport?
We just recently came from a starport, and my chef is a bit of an artiste. She says with like air quotes and a smile.
Oh, I see. Maybe you've been my way recently. Where were you, perchance?
Well, yeah, about a fair bit. She says a few planets here. Then she referenced a few like vague planets along the path. But she says, I think more for your direction is, where have you been? Certainly out here.
Oh, just here and there. Some independent survey work. Well, I've been, shall we say, taking a semester abroad.
Always nice.
Yeah.
She grins.
Well, there's only so much interning interning at the Cochrane Institute it can be quite productive and all, but, well, for one thing, one of their main focuses, or one of the main areas is starship propulsion, obviously, that they work with, and it's better to see what an engine can do, practically speaking, getting it out the door, or out the gate, rather. Um, and, yeah, I've had an opportunity to indulge in a few tasks along the way. It's actually,
What kind of engine? That's fascinating. What kind of engine were you testing?
just latest iterative work on the basic Cochrane engine. It actually does implement the same sort of standard dilithium-mediated reactions as your vessel, as I imagine most Starfleet vessels do at this point. Trying to see if we could more effectively cut and alter the dilithium lattice in such a way that it would more effectively mediate the matter-antimatter reaction. It's done pretty well. Long
Wow,
haul.
I'd love to see your notes. I mean,
Oh,
we're out in the field, and we do a lot of stuff.
a part of me wouldn't mind comparing that, but I might also need to. I kind of. I hope you understand. I need to kind of pay attention to the politics of the whole thing. I mean, you Earthers may not fully appreciate, but apparently we're striking out on our own now, so um, they might consider that type of information as
A bit
Oh, you mean the
proprietary.
Vulcans?
no.
No.
I mean, Alpha Centauri's been declared independent. I know the
Oh, I'm
Vulcans are
from. I
protectors.
know all about it. I'm from Alpha Centauri.
Oh, really?
Born and raised. Yeah,
She
my family worked the orbital docks. That's where I got my start.
Oh, I see.
I modified more freighters and shuttles than you can imagine. before I was even 18.
You haven't heard any news from there, have you?
What news have I heard?
You haven't since the
That's what I
bombings.
figured. I was just double checking with you. I really haven't heard any news. It's been. I look at her and I'm going to kind of make a bridge. It's been worrisome. I'm not sure, what's going on with my family.
Not to mention we're hours, if not days, away from the subspace relay. It takes a bit to get news from out here.
She'll kind of rub the bridge of her nose. I was hoping to get past the information blackout getting home, but this is, it's not been easy since this whole thing happened. I was well off world by the time that information actually came to light. I got news of the whole independence movement. I didn't get it rather until early June with the subspace delays, and thankfully my parents got some word out to me letting me know that they were okay at the time and advised I stay out a little bit longer. I was otherwise going to head back home.
Are you planning to stay on here a bit longer? I'm more curious of how far you've managed to take everything. Seems like you have quite the adventure so far. She looks over in the direction of the rest of her crew, or the rest of the crew for Sloan.
Oh yeah.
Look back to her, humbly focused with a smile.
Yeah, we've had some good times together. She says, giving a warm grin in the direction of Fen and Natala. They make for nice shipmates, but well, yeah, frankly, I'd be perfectly happy to stick with them for a while longer, and that is somewhat the plan. We don't have any inclination to separate just yet. We're just kind of I guess that's
You're a team. You're a team. And especially out here. That's how that stuff forms.
Yeah. At any rate, we're a little bit past the limits of what we can do with what we've had, so we were hoping to go and just reprovision, check in with the Institute, and manage a few other things.
So, if you don't mind me asking, she just smiles. Or I'm saying she smiled repeatedly, but sorry, because I don't have a face, a camera. But what was your first name out of character?
Kara.
Yeah.
Kara.
Do you mind if I call you Kara, Miss?
I don't mind you calling me that, Colonel. She says with the very slightest bit of edge or emphasis on your rank.
Lillian. I'm in Starfleet currently. It's simply a need to put someone in command. It's more or less ceremonial at this point for my rank.
Is that so?
We're on a Starfleet ship, not a Mako ship. I'm here to explore and to bring peace as much as I can. Open dialogues, meet new alien races, broker friendships.
Well, that's different from the. I suppose that's different from the usual Mako esprit de corps. Cracked skulls, stunned protesters, mass arrests. That's, I suppose, more the vibe that I'm used to. Lillian.
That's not our captain at all. She's not like that.
Well, I suppose I'll certainly see. You.
I can give you something to assuage some of your considerations.
It's not needed. I can fully understand, especially the sort of mistreatment that's happened to Centurions.
Yeah.
Well, you don't seem like somebody that would have been out on duty at that time, so I would guess that you were actually deployed during the last set of civil disobedience.
No, but I've met that sort of unit, and she shakes her head. Not my sort of crowd.
Well, I suppose if they put one of you in charge of a Starfleet vessel, you came to be entirely goon squad then.
Certainly not. Kind of get in the way of the whole diplomacy thing. And we're making friends.
I'm
So,
sure.
what brings you to a battlefield if you're just having adventures, as it were?
Don't believe me. Wasn't much our call here. The battlefield, if anything, came to us.
Oh?
Rather, the ships all happened to come out here, and well, I couldn't tell you what drove them here.
Certainly, I'm all ears, and we have plenty of time.
Yeah, I'm just. Well, no. I'm still
Kara,
trying
if
to.
you're... Sorry, go ahead.
You'll forgive me, Captain, but even if you're not necessarily one of the brutes, you're still Earth military and Starfleet for whatever you want to say about exploration or whatnot is still something of an armed vessel and an arm of Earth's military might here. You don't think I did? Just because I heard about it later doesn't mean that I didn't know. The Aegis was the ship that came to Alpha Centauri in the first place, back when they declared independence.
Was my out of character predecessor? Is that the proper term?
Yeah.
Predecessor?
Captain, this was Captain Barton's first mission, and Aegis's immediate first mission out of dry dock.
And I'll let her know that was Captain Barton, who actually brought me on board and reinstated me to Starfleet. I was on the ground at that time.
Oh, so you were there for the revolution and your service.
I was more than that. I was a supporter. There were a lot of problems at that time.
Yeah. Sloane's trying to digest this information, and all of you get the interrupted train of thought as there's an outburst from across the room, the rustling and stretching of wings, and the proclamation of something marvelous. God damn it. Then she just says to herself, look, I don't know. I just don't know, and...
Kara, we're out here in the frontier. Farthest reaches from any sort of government or laws. All I'm caring about right now is for your and your people's safety. If you're in need of help, we're certainly here to help.
She takes a moment to think on this. We crane elsewhere and rewind slightly, where Dr. Lambeth, you are seated next to a Denobulan woman, tasked with engaging her in conversation as well. Well, we will come back to others here in a moment. But yeah, Doctor, she's not really giving you, she doesn't need anything much in the way of initial prying to start talking with you as you sit down.
Yeah.
Oh, how delightful. More humans. I must say, I'm actually been quite eager to see a larger group of them around. It's not as much of a common occurrence for me, and I've only gotten to know Kara as well as anyone else. Greetings.
Yeah, greetings. I'm Danny.
Oh,
Pleasure to meet you.
Natala.
Yeah, Natana.
Technically doctor, but, well...
Yeah, technically doctor here as well.
Oh, really? What is
Yeah.
your field of profession?
Oh, medicine.
Oh, medical doctor, I see.
Yeah, stitching people back together and all that.
Right.
You?
You could
Archaeology.
hear the disappointment.
Yes. It's a funny thing. On my world, there seems to have been a parallel development in the phrase doctor. It was originally something that had the concept of a doctorate, such as denobulan and human concepts pair up, actually started within the humanities and what one might call the social sciences, and other hard sciences for that matter. The concept of a medical doctor only took place later on. I find it fascinating how many civilizations track together in that sense.
Yeah.
Yes,
Weird. I didn't know that.
yes, well, you have learned something new. Now perhaps you might tell me something new. I don't know. Well, tell me,
I mean, I'm
Danny.
afraid I don't know much about archaeology.
Oh, but you know something about medicine, and perhaps you have other hobbies and interests. Tell me, what's your life like, Danny?
Oh, well, I've been moving around a lot. Like I've seen some of your people before, but again, usually only in the ones or twos, not a whole ship full of them. Like I'm mostly a traveling doctor. I've been before I set up with this ship. I'm just been selling my services wherever they've been needed. Really, uh, personal interests. I don't know. Mostly just spend most of my time focused on my work. But occasionally I'll read something.
Uh,
Yeah, sorry, I'm not all that interesting now that I think about it.
oh, come now. You, Danny, seem like plenty a fascinating fellow, and I'd be certain that we could get to know each other quite well as good friends. Maybe even if circumstances align, there might be other interests we might find we have in common. She's intentionally going to go ahead and place her hand on the table and very clearly in your personal space, like next to one of your hands.
Okay, he's gonna like move that hand off to pick up his drink and drink it, and then put it back just ever so slightly further away. Um,
Come on, Dr.
well,
Lemon.
that is interesting.
Oh yes, it is truly a pity that you've never had the chance to enjoy the company of a denobulan ship. It very much.
Yeah,
Tell me, would you say that the dynamics on board this vessel, would you say that the the ties are something I don't know, I suppose, something more.
not
What level of
from what I've
integration?
heard, we're not quite as close knit as a denobulan community.
Hmm. Well, that is a true pity. You do quite miss out that way.
I mean, I think there's something to be said for a more professional relationship when it comes to ships like this. Though I can understand uh, your people's approach as well.
Hmm. Yes, well, I suppose it's I suppose it depends upon your societal conceptions. I have noticed, or at least from what human media I've consumed, there are far more complex social factors in play, something much more a sense of exclusion, individualism, perhaps in some ways. I don't know.
Yeah, you could
The
say individualism. Yeah, there's a lot of you got to look out for yourself first in most things. That's the way I've always seen it.
Yeah, it seems a whole lot less efficient than allowing for more communal care, the ability to nurture and build off each other in different ways. So, certainly in my previous voyage, the archaeological efforts were definitely more helpful with closer ties to the crew. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems. Yeah, I mean, well, what kind of previous archaeological stuff have you been doing?
Oh well, I've
Because it's
been up.
mostly been with denobulans, right?
Certainly. I've been out on a number of. I've been out on a number of missions. My last one actually, well, before meeting up with this lot, had been all the way out all the way out in Philebia, some light years out from Denobula. There was a truly interesting set of ruins that we discovered, something the Phlebians themselves weren't even aware of, and they were more than happy to allow for some joint operations while we were there. Oh, I'd have stayed. Well, I suppose I wouldn't have gained much from staying longer, but she pauses for a moment. Turns out that what I really needed to make that mystery interesting was further out than I was expecting.
So you're still. You mean you're still pursuing that lead?
Oh, one might say that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a way I'm still trying to. I'm not really pursuing a lead of my own, but I'm trying to keep on the same path in a way, moving around, helping people. And this is another path to that. Get a chance to work with a big organisation like this. You can help a lot more people than you can as a doc for hire.
Yes, you're working very effectively amongst this community you have built,
Oh, thank you.
even
Do
if you are not
you?
so close.
Yeah, well, do you find that your community, your group you're hanging out with here, are helping you to better work on your own goals?
Oh, Kara and Fan are both much more. It's much more reserved and certainly much tighter quarters than we're used to in most circumstances, but I would say that uh, I'd think that we make a good tight knit group. In some ways, it's a bit harder to relate, but we we are joined by common cause, most especially.
So they're interested in archaeology too.
Well, not at first, but well, in some ways, it was a perfect alignment between Fenn's understanding of subspace and astral phenomena, the rather unique scientific scientific and other unique archaeological contributions that Kara's made, and well, my own fascination with the field, and well, with all. You know, I would say more, but I don't know I don't know how comfortable the others might be with this as I'm thinking about my friends here.
Oh, yeah, no, you don't need to say any more. It's understandable that with such a tight knit and close community that you've got with these people, you don't want to break any of their confidence.
Yeah, certainly not. Well, given the last time any word came out about this, well, seems that I can't say for sure. She says, gesturing a hand out towards the porthole where you can see a badly broken Vulcan cruiser out ahead of you. I can understand some people being a little more reserved about, well. And at this point, you're interrupted by the whooshing of and rustling of wings as Fen contributes the something marvelous.
Yeah, reserved.
Sorry, sometimes he forgets himself, though frankly hasn't had a chance to really let his wings span out in a little while.
Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that. You should get that opportunity more. It's
Not
always
well.
awkward when you feel like you've got to constrain yourself. You know, that you can't really be who you really are.
Certainly not. It, I could imagine. Well, it is difficult not to be able to live to that full sense of self. I would not wish that life of unfulfillment or even to an extent self-deceit on anyone.
It's not. I imagine such a life isn't necessarily unfulfilling. You can find purpose even in self-deception. Sometimes you can achieve things that you never would if you're honest with yourself. You can.
But at
Overconfidence can let you do things that you could never have done if you had an accurate assessment of your own ambition,
oh yes, I suppose if
your
we're
own abilities.
talking about that, sometimes it is better to allow confidence to supplement competence and press ahead the rest of the way. Though I suppose I was meditating a little more on the idea of deceit. I must say I'm not comfortable with that notion.
Your people don't. Well, is that a personal thing or a Denobulan thing? Because most, I mean, the few Denobulans I've had contact with were honest folk
And
that paid well
I
and
don't
on time.
imagine, yeah, I don't imagine they'd have any reason to lie to you. But I mean, it's not as though, well, we don't tell people that we don't lie. We're not the Vulcans, I suppose.
No, you're not. No, that's a good thing, honestly. You're a lot more open than them and a lot less, you don't mind my saying so, a lot less arrogant.
I appreciate that. She looks over to Kara. Well, maybe a bit of honesty would do the trick here. I must ask, Doctor, your impression of the situation. Our matter of meeting wasn't exactly the most desirable. What would you say as to our prospects of leaving this place without, well, in peace?
See no reason why there shouldn't be peace here. I mean, the battle is over, isn't it?
I would agree. I would not want this to. I've not worked with many Earth types or humans rather, and I just want to make sure that we aren't sailing into captivity.
No, I mean, assuming you're all like, if you've got any health problems or anything like that, we might want to keep you around to take a look at you and make sure you're safe before you go. But I don't see why anyone would want to stop you leaving. I mean, like, it's.
I do
I
get
mean, I
it.
can't imagine there's anything, you're holding any secrets that would be worth fighting over, right? just some archaeologists, and as interesting as archaeology is, there's nothing worth dying over in that.
Danny, give me an insight and command definitely applies. Medicine might be something you can apply here.
I don't know.
More on the-
You have
I've
one
got-
floating momentum, by the way.
Oh, let's just burn that then.
Yeah.
There's nothing worth dying for in archaeology. I feel like there read a ripple through the universe. There's millions of archaeologists just like had a migraine at exactly the same moment.
Nope. Let's call this insight and command here.
Yep.
So be against
Focuses composure.
I think
Would that
composure
apply?
applies a little bit here, yeah.
Okay. With that.
So this will be contested against her. Oh, control and command, and she did not succeed. Not in the slightest.
I got one success.
Oh. Sorry, it did not
I think
update.
I rolled it at the same time as you.
Yep, that it did. Yeah, with one success there, you see, like, with that statement, she seems deeply perturbed. As if the line betrays a good bit of irony. I actually don't think she will have anything to say to that. She's just going to look very deeply troubled here. And perhaps gaze back out into the field of broken ships. But yes, at this point, her relative quiet and Ren's exuberance are both they're both creating very different vibes over at the table. And Sloane, back with you, Sharp and Romanov, would you care to give me a moment, Lillian, to speak with my colleagues?
Of course.
Sure.
No. As if
And like a very polite person, she'll just get up and as would be.
Yep, she will.
Off to do the same.
Yep.
If can I just have a word with the captain?
Go right ahead.
Sir, if we need a reason to search their ship, I can say that as a member of the Andorian Imperial Guard, I should inspect that vessel for any possible sensitive information they may have gathered in this battlefield.
She'll just give a small shake her head. I've already made the gesture that we're not like anything that the Mako's back home. Let's not try to challenge that for now, for the moment, and we don't have any large reason to. Besides, she looks over to like the people that just walked off. I think they're going to tell us. Give time.
Very well.
Sorry, I have been doing rolls with manual dice based off what has been said here, and I'm going off what's on the page.
Would it be beneficial to create trouble for them? Create problems? Create increased difficulty?
Do you want to?
Because we still have a lot of momentum.
I will say if you want to create some sort of advantage to make cooperation more viable for them, then you may do so, and it may influence things slightly. What would you have in mind?
I want to I want to create, in essence, given the open hand we've offered, plus the venue of the debris outside, and certainly just add more emphasis to, we're practically a blessing to them at the current moment. We have a bigger ship, more capable. We have a lot more crew, and they are certainly outgunned given what they just had to go through.
Yeah.
So I'll spend 2 more momentum, which is still free because I remember I spent determination. So how much momentum did I have? So 3, 2, 1, 1. We had to fuck ton. So yeah,
you have
I'll
enough.
just wait. Yeah.
After some conversation, Sloan will walk back to you, Colonel. Um, may I ask you, Lillian, for one thing? If we are forthcoming with what we have to say, would you be prepared to allow us on our way?
If you wish.
With your word as a Starfleet captain, and as an officer, and whichever services you consider yourself, then
You have to respect that. Certainly, I wish to ensure that nobody's harmed. And while if you're suffering from immediate threat, there might be some hesitation on my part.
I can assure you it's nothing of the sort, or at least shouldn't be, but, well, this bit requires some context, I think, and she looks to her compatriots. We can tell you a little bit more. And with that, I think that is where we will cut off for today's session. So next week we will come back with another session with the Star Trek Adventures Aegis on to the next part of Star Trek Adventures Aegis and the Starry Compass. But until then, this is where we will leave you in the archive. We hope you enjoyed, and we will catch you all next week. Take care now.